the Chris Cook for YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing an add-on to my dinner, which is collard greens. But before I get started, I'd like to give a shout out to all of my wonderful fathers out there and say happy Father's Day. I also want to give a shout out to the mothers who are taking on the roles as fathers in their home and say happy Father's Day to them as well. Along with that shout out, I'd like to give one out to Jonathan and Wendy for sending me a beautiful gift in the mail. She sent me and he sent me a pair of earrings, and they sent me some lavender. You will see me sport the earrings in the near future, and the lavender, oh my goodness, is homegrown from her garden, and man, it was for me to take a luxurious bath, which I took several, but before I did that, I allowed it to sit in my bedroom and just scent up my whole bedroom and my whole bathroom. Lavender is my favorite fragrance, and it has a beautiful scent to it, and I really want to say thank you for thinking of me. Now, let's get started. Today, the meats that I'm going to be using for my collard greens is going to be smoked turkey drums, a ham hock. In case you don't know what a ham hock looks like, that's what it looks like. And here's one that's even a little bit bigger. It has a little bit of frost on it because I took it from my refrigerator, but that's what my freezer, that's what a ham hock looks like. And this is leftover ham meat that I took from my ham, and I don't know if it was Thanksgiving or it was Christmas, but I always trim off any meat that I have on my ham. If I can't use the ham bone, then I'll use this meat as to go in my pots when I'm boiling something like my greens and my beans, because any type of smoked meat will give off a good flavor to any dish, whether it be greens or whether it be beans. Anything in that family, smoked meats give off a good flavor, and you don't need to have a whole lot of seasonings. Now to this, I'm going to add some Lipton onion soup mix, which you know is my favorite stapler. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar just to give it balance, and I'm going to add some bacon grease, and you'll see me add that later on. Now the bacon grease, I keep that in a container near my stove. If anybody has seen, there's a coffee pot that sits on the side of my stove. Well, that's not for, or tea kettle rather, that's not for tea or for coffee. That's actually for my leftover cooking grease, and I mean that would be like my bacon grease after I've just taken out all of the drippings from it, and it would be my leftover chicken grease that I've also taken the drippings from. I put them in that can so I can use them later on in dishes like this. Now, a lot of my viewers have asked me about collard greens, so I just said I would go ahead on and show them. I know that I do have cabbage leaves online, but I don't have collard greens. Now this is collard greens, and collard greens is sold in bunches, okay? Just so you know. Normally they will use a wire tie, or they will use what they use on this, which is a rubber band, okay? Now, your collard greens are like this, and I have found that the smaller the leaf, the more tender the greens are. If you get the big bulky leaves, and I do have some, they're a little bit tougher than the smaller ones are, and that's because they've set out longer. They're older, so the leaf on the green is a little bit more tougher than the smaller. Now I'm going to take several of these collard greens. She asked me how'd you buy them. You buy them in bunches, okay? I'm going to take several of these collard greens, and I'm going to look at them first to make certain that there is no ants or anything crawling on greens. And you know that your greens are susceptible to that because they're out in the elements. And I mean, things do crawl on them, and that's the reason why you give them a bath in salt water, because the salt will help to pull the bugs off of the greens. So you make a bath of salt water, preferably in your sink, and then you take your greens after you've cut them up, which I'm going to show you now, and you put them in that bath of salt water. You do it twice with salt water and then once with regular water. Now, if you wash your greens a little bit less than 3 times, I mean, do what you need to do. I do mine 3 times and I will be fine. Now, as you can see, there is a stem on the greens, and the stem I don't use. Some people do cut the stems up. I don't cut the stems up. I just cut my greens. So I put all my leaves together, and I put like maybe about 8-10 leaves together at a time, making certain that all of my greens are pretty much, all of the heads or the tops of the greens, they're lining up, okay? They're lining up together, and then I got my stems down at this end, and my stems are just a little bit longer. Then I take my greens and I roll them, okay? I roll them up. And once I roll them up, I take my knife and I cut them in sections. Now, I normally use my finger as a rule of thumb. If you can see the first line in my finger, that's all your cut need to be. It needs to be from the first line to the second line. Any place within that is a good cut for greens, because you don't want them to get that bulky taste in their mouth when they're biting these greens. Now, I've done this so long until I don't need to put my finger down there. I just go ahead. I've done it so many times, and I just go ahead and I cut, okay? And I take it all the way down, okay? And I put them in. Now, I'm going to show you, okay? Now, when I get down to where this is, normally I'll just pick. Now, some people do cut their stems, and that's all right too, because you got vitamins and minerals down in your skin. So if you want to cut your skins, that's fine. Cut your stems, that's fine. I choose not to cut mine, and I just take those and I discard them. Okay, so I picked off as much of the greens as I can. Now, if you get a few stems in there, that's okay. I'm not going to go back and pick, do that much picking. But I take these and then I discard them. I put them away in a bag. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to spread out my leaves, making certain that my leaf heads line up with this. Now, because this is smaller, I'm going to get a piece of the stem. That's okay, as long as I'm not cooking all of my stems. I'm fine with it. So I continue to line up, looking at each one, making certain that there's nothing on it. Now, if you see a piece of rot on your greens like this, you can just take that piece of rot out, okay, and throw it away. And that happens too, because they're sitting out in the sun. So that happens, especially after it rains and then the sun comes out. They'll rot and wilt, a lot of them. But this looks like a pretty fresh and good batch of greens. For this little one, it doesn't matter if I put it in there and then just go ahead and get that stem off of it. That's not that important. So I look at my leaves, stack all my leaves together. Now, greens do the same as cabbage do. They will shrink down in the cooking process. I have 3 bunches. 3 bunches is enough for me and my family. And I have all of the smoked meat that's going in it. You don't need to use as much smoked meat as I'm using either. I'm just using a lot because I have as much greens as I have. And you already know that on Sunday, somebody's going to come back and want something to eat. So then I'll have enough for them. Now, I want to show you this way of cutting as well, because a lot of times I do it this way, whereas I take the leaves and I cut them down. And once I cut the leaves down, well, I can finish this off right here. But once I cut the leaves down, then I go ahead and I cut through it like this. Okay? So I'm cutting through my collards, and once I cut through them, then I take them and I put them over in my container. Now that that is done, okay, I'm going to go away and finish these 3 bunches of, well, my remaining 2 bunches of collard greens, And then I'm going to give them a saltwater bath. Like I said, I'm going to saltwater bath them in 3 baths. It's going to be 2 with the salt water and then 1 with just regular water. And it's a little bit past room temperature. You don't need hot water and you don't need cold water. So it's a little bit past room temperature. Once I get that done, then I'll come back. One other thing I want to tell you is I'm going to go ahead and put my smoked meat in the pot, and I'm going to allow this smoked meat to cook for 30 minutes before I put my greens in. That's because the smoked meat is going to take a little bit longer than my greens to prepare. So I'm going to go ahead and put my smoked meat in, let it cook for 30 minutes. Then when I come back, I'll be getting ready to add the greens. So I'll see you at the stove. Okay, just so people don't call and say, well, how do you wash greens? I wanted to just throw this part into the video. If you look into my sink, I am running water in my sink. Now to that water, I'm going to add like a heaping tablespoon of salt. Okay, and then I'm going to take my greens. This is only half of them, and I'm going to put them in that salt water. Okay, now once I put them into the salt water, I'm going to, what a saltwater bath means is that you're just dumping the greens up and down with your hand, okay? So you swish them a little bit. And you don't want your water too hot. You want just a little bit past room temperature. You swish them in it a little bit. And then once you swish them, what you're doing with that salt, again, you're releasing the bugs from the greens. So once you swish them, then you're just going to up and down, okay? Up and down. Shake a little bit. Up and down. Take them out, put them in your pan. Okay, do it again. Up and down. Shake just a little bit to get that excess water. Put them in a pan. Okay. Now I have more. I'm just going to show you these. I'm going to go away and finish them up and down. Shake just a little bit. Put them in my pan. And you continue this process until you get all of your greens washed. Now, even though I did not see any bugs on these greens, I didn't see any bugs. I didn't see any strange little crawling creatures. There's still sand and dirt on it because that's what it's grown in. So, this water at the end of my 3rd washing, this water should be clear. Now, if you will look at my 1st washing, it's kind of green-like, okay, and it's dirty. Now, even though I couldn't see that dirt was there. So you want to get that off. Then I'm going to release the trap in my sink, let this water out. And then I'm going to rinse my sink a little bit to make certain that I leave no little particles running around in my sink. Make more water and do it again. I could have caught these with my trap, but my holes are so small, so it's not going to go down in there anyway. So, gonna let that out. And if you look real closely, you can see some little sand particles. Okay. Then I'm going to put this out. Stepped away just to get that out. Okay. Do it again. little bit on my hand now. Put it in. Put my greens back in. Lift the pan out. Add a tablespoon of salt. Get just a little water in it. And I'll do the same process again. So it may seem like this is a tedious process. It's really, really not. You don't want to eat sand and dirt if you can remove it. You want to remove as much as you possibly can. So 3 washings is enough, because with each washing it's going to get a little bit cleaner and a little bit cleaner. So this is like my second washing, and with my second washing I did add salt. Now with the next washing I won't add salt, because I already know that this water will come back clear. So and I know that just from having done it so many times. I just want to remind everybody and let everybody know that on my next video I'll probably do a question and answer, a Q&A. So if you have any questions, I don't know everything about questions, but about cooking, but the things that I do know I'm willing to share. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, jot it down, and when I post my Q&A video, you just put it at the bottom, and I'll try to answer as many of your questions as I can. And I'm really an open book, so anything you pretty much want to ask me, I'll answer. So again, doing the same thing. So I just wanted to show you this process. And like I said, I've done it so many times until, hey, I pretty much can probably do it in my sleep. And my meat is cooking in the background. As you can see, this water is a little bit cleaner, and the last water will be even cleaner. So that's all I want to show you, and I'll get back when this process is complete. Now we're at the stove, and I'm going to remove the top, and I'm going to add the greens to the pot. I'm going to take out one of these pieces of meat, and I'll put it back in on the top and take out this turkey leg. And the reason for that is because I want to be able to stuff more greens over in the pot. And they're going to wilt down, and it doesn't affect the cooking time, because now this is going to cook about 1.5 to 2 hours anyway. Now this is not all of my greens. This is just as much as I can get in the pot. And then I'll add a little bit more and a little bit more as they shrink down. So this is really the batch that you saw me wash over at the stove. Now I haven't added any more seasonings. The only thing that is cooking off of right now is just the smoked meat and the flavor that's coming from the smoked meat. The one thing that I didn't tell you is if you have some crushed red pepper, that's crushed red pepper, you're going to add just a little bit. Now I know that my greens have to be kid friendly, but that still gives off added flavor, and I'm not going to make them super hot. Just going to add enough in there to just give it a little kick. Okay. Now some people, they do add vinegar to their greens. I don't do that. Okay, if somebody wants some vinegar in their greens here, they got to put it on the side. Okay, and this is the kettle that I was telling you about that I had the cooking grease in. That's about 2 tablespoons full of cooking grease. I'm going to put this top back on and put this piece of meat back in. Okay. Right on top. And when I get ready to add my next greens, then that's when I'll put the seasonings in, and I'll add them in. Okay, we're back. My greens have shrunk down some. So now my turkey is coming all apart. So now I'm going to add some more. And the way to add your greens is to move greens to the side as much as you can. And then add the greens that have not cooked to like the bottom part of your pot. So we're going to add a few more. I want to burn my hand because I'm good for doing that. And then add some greens that have cooked longer in the pot on top of the ones that haven't cooked. And then I'm going to move. Now keep in mind, my oxtails take a while to cook, not as long as my turkey. So my oxtails are on the bottom of my pot. I'm moving these over just a little bit. Now I'll put some more down over in the pot. Up to here. But I'm going to continue to add my greens until I get them all in here. Putting them in. Now, all of my greens have been added to my pot. A piece of turkey is up on top. Now I'm going to add my little bit of sugar. I'm going to also add my Lipton onion soup mix, and I'm going to add a little bit of the crushed pepper. Now, when adding the crushed pepper, and that's not a lot, why did I put my seasonings on top as opposed to putting my seasonings in when I did the water? Because I want the seasonings to filter down touching my greens. I am going to come back and stir it, but I want it to filter down touching my greens as it goes to the bottom. So I'm going to put the top back on here. I'm going to allow this to cook a little bit more, and I'll show you when I get ready to stir it one time. This is going to cook about another hour to an hour and a half. So okay, now I'm going to open my pot for the first time since I put the onion seasonings in there, and I have it on low. I'm going to stir around in it just a little bit. As you can see, my onion seasonings is falling down over into the pot. Alright, and if you can look at that meat, you see my meat is coming off the bone on my turkey bone, so it was okay to put it up at the top. See how it's coming off? Okay, I'm going to pick out these little pieces like this, the little stems. I'll get them out. But I just wanted to tell you in the video just before this, the portion of the video, I inadvertently said oxtails because there's so much commotion going on in the backgrounds here in my home. And I was trying to drown out the sounds of the people in the background. And while I turned to tell them to lower their voice, that was when I inadvertently said oxtails. But you know I don't have oxtails in here. I have ham hocks down in here. You'll get a chance to see the ham hocks. They're continuing to cook. Just trying to see if I can dig one. I think I have it. This is so hot. you go. There's one of the oxtails right there. And I'm going to keep it on the bottom because this takes just a little bit longer to cook and my greens are not done yet. So I'm going to lower this back in, okay, and cover it. And I'll take those little turkey bones out. And I'll get back when this process is complete. But you know that it's turkey meat and it's ham hocks in here. Okay, so we're back and the greens are done. I'm still in the process of cooking the rest and preparing the rest of my dinner, but I just wanted to show you the greens, and I did cut up the smoked meats in the greens, so I'm going to go ahead and dish up the greens. And as you can see, they're full of meat. Now, I didn't put any salt in this because I didn't need to. My smoked meats had the sauce, the salt in it. I did taste it, and it came out very well. Put just a little bit more meat on top of it. So you have the smoked turkey and you have the smoked ham hocks, and that's collard greens. Okay, so I just want to say to all of my fathers, to all of my grandfathers, all of my stepfathers, and all of my moms who are taking the place of fathers in their home. The Bible tells us to bring up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is older, he will not depart from that. I want to wish all of you all a happy, happy Father's Day. And as always, thank you for watching Chris Cook for YouTube. Bye.